Trump is spiraling. And here is how we know. His own generals, the people sitting across from him every single day briefing him on this catastrophic war in Iran, are slipping something into his daily war planning documents that tells you everything about where they think this is headed. Exit options. Options for how to get out of this war. Right now, today, not in a separate memo, not flagged as dissent, right there in the standard daily war planning briefings, sitting alongside the troop movements and the strike reports. NBC News is reporting this exclusively. Military generals and admirals are continuing to include these exit options in Trump's regular briefings about how to end this conflict. And we know Trump does not read, right? That is a documented fact. But the message is getting through one way or another because what these commanders are seeing from their intelligence feeds and their operational reports is that the United States is stuck in Iran with no clean path forward. And they are trying to force that conversation. Want a single image of where this war stands right now? The front page of today's Financial Times. The headline, Allies reject Trump's call for warships. Every country Washington has approached, every so-called partner this administration has reached out to, is saying the same thing. No, we are not sending ships to the Strait of Hormuz. You started this war without consulting us. You and Netanyahu rushed into this disastrous campaign without a single phone call, and now you want our warships? Figure it out yourselves. Now let us run through the actual numbers on the ground, because the numbers are bad and the administration is working overtime to keep the real picture from reaching the public. The official wounded count has now passed 200 service members. Around a dozen of those are very seriously wounded. We say official because that qualifier matters. This administration has a documented track record of releasing figures that do not reflect what is actually happening. Whatever the official count is, treat it as the floor, not the ceiling. 13 American service members have been confirmed killed. 13. And some of their families are now speaking publicly, on camera, calling this an unlawful war. These are not political operatives. These are families who sent someone they loved into a conflict nobody asked them about. And they are not staying quiet. The United States has now lost approximately a dozen MQ, 9 Reaper drones in this war. Expensive, sophisticated military hardware. Destroyed. And one of those drones, I want you to really sit with this detail, one of them was accidentally shot down by a Gulf state that is supposed to be aligned with Washington in this conflict. A partner nation brought down one of our own drones. That is the operational coordination we are working with out there right now. And then there is the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, targeted again, by Iran. We have actual video footage of this. An Iranian Shahid 136 drone filmed flying at low altitude directly over the Iraqi capital and impacting near the embassy compound. 2 separate camera angles of that strike. Then there is additional footage released by the Popular Mobilization Front, which is an Iranian-backed group executing Tehran's strategic agenda inside Iraq. In their video, you can see a first-person view attack drone moving freely and completely unchallenged through Baghdad's green zone, right near the embassy. Circling. Nobody stopping it. Nobody touching it. The message of that footage is not subtle. It says, we can do this whenever we want, to whatever target we choose, and right now nothing is stopping us. And Trump's public response to all of this? We have totally obliterated Iran, completely decimated them. They do not have drones. They do not have ballistic missiles. We are winning this comprehensively. Right. Go watch the footage we just described and draw your own conclusions. Now here is a story that is not getting nearly the attention it deserves. The USS Gerald Ford, one of the 2 main aircraft carriers surrounding Iran when Trump launched this campaign. That ship is now entering its 10th month of deployment. 10 months. That is not a deployment. That is an endurance crisis. And the ship is showing every sign of it. Last week, sailors on board battled a fire that started in the ship's main laundry area. And it spread through the ventilation system into multiple sleeping areas throughout the ship. When it was finally controlled, more than 600 crew members had lost their bunks. 600 people. And the solution available to them right now, today, in an active combat theater, is sleeping on floors and on tables throughout the ship. There is no repair timeline. There is no fix coming in the near term. More than 600 American sailors are sleeping on the floor of a warship that is supposed to represent the projection of American military power in this region. And this is on top of a sewage system failure on the same ship, right before the war started that kept it offline for over 30 hours. Fire. Suez collapse. Crew on the floor. This is the flagship of the American carrier presence in this war. Now here is where the story gets into territory that should concern every single person watching this. Trump stood in front of cameras yesterday and told the world that Iran's foreign minister keeps trying to reach Steve Witkoff. Keeps reaching out. Wants a deal. Active contact. That was the claim. Iran's foreign minister responded within hours. On the record, his last contact with Witkoff happened before Trump ordered another military strike on Iran. And any claim suggesting ongoing diplomatic contact, in his own words, appears geared solely to mislead oil market traders and the public. So let us be clear about what that accusation actually is. Iran is saying publicly that Trump is fabricating diplomatic contact during a live war to move oil prices. That is an extraordinary allegation, and the administration has produced zero evidence of that contact. Zero. If you have the receipts, show them. Until then, we have Iran's foreign minister calling the president a liar on the record, and the evidence to counter it has not materialized. Iran's actual position is the exact opposite of what Trump described. No interest in a ceasefire. The United States is going to experience the consequences of what it has done. That is not a government that is calling Witkoff. Now let us look at the arc of this war week by week, because when you lay it out in sequence, the picture is extraordinary. Week 1, we won. Iran has been dealt with decisively. Mission done. Week 2, we are winning. Tremendous progress. Everything on track. Week 3, please help us. Urgently. With great enthusiasm. All nations are encouraged to get involved immediately. That is not what a winning campaign looks like. That is what a campaign looks like when it has run into something it did not plan for. Then Trump looked at the massive rallies erupting across Iranian cities after American and Israeli strikes and told the world those people are artificial intelligence. Not real. Computer-generated images. Ali Larijani, Iran's national security advisor, responded by going on record and quoting that claim back with visible contempt. Whether the crowd count is 100,000 or closer to 1 million, multiple major independent news organizations, including the New York Times, have confirmed that large-scale pro-government demonstrations are happening across multiple Iranian cities simultaneously. You can debate how organic they are. You cannot argue that they do not exist. The regional picture beyond Iran is escalating fast. Explosions and active air defense in Bahrain. The UAE, meaning Dubai and Abu Dhabi, announced a full temporary closure of its entire national airspace. The UAE's General Civil Aviation Authority made that announcement citing the safety of flights and aircrews. Full closure. Dubai and Abu Dhabi are two of the most significant aviation and logistics hubs on the entire planet. When that airspace closes, even temporarily, global commerce takes a hit that markets feel immediately. Iran's message to the UAE is being delivered with a very specific reference point. You signed deals with Trump. You accepted the semiconductor chip agreements. You allowed American military infrastructure onto your soil. You put money into ventures connected to Trump and Kushner. You made your choices. Now you are living in the consequences of those choices. Iran is delivering the exact same message to Saudi Arabia. Pick a side publicly and do it now. Here is a development that is not being talked about enough given what it could become. Iran has not yet activated the Houthis in the Red Sea. They are holding that card deliberately. The current read is that both China and Russia are counseling Iran to wait on that front, with China applying the stronger pressure for now. But here is why this situation is so dangerous. All of the cargo shipping that has been rerouting away from the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz since this conflict began is now flowing through the Red Sea instead. That diversion made logical sense when the strait was the primary threat. But the moment Iran activates the Houthis, every one of those ships that rerouted away from one choke point is sitting directly inside another choke point that the Houthis have already proven they can control. The trap does not need to be built. It is already there, and the ships have already sailed into it. On the Lebanon front, Israel has called up 450,000 reservists and is pressing deeper into southern Lebanon. The suburbs of Beirut are being demolished. Hospitals struck. Medical workers killed alongside Hezbollah fighters. Every one of those strikes is being filmed and broadcast across the Arab world and global media at the same time. And every single broadcast is doing exactly what Iran's information strategy needs it to do. And then there is the dimension that concerns the long game inside Iran itself. The people who genuinely wanted democratic change, who marched against the Ayatollah in enormous numbers as recently as January, who heard Trump say publicly he had their backs against the regime. Those people feel completely betrayed. Trump signaled solidarity, and then the bombs came. The people who were applying the most meaningful internal pressure on the Iranian government are now watching hospitals get destroyed and feeling solidarity with the regime they were protesting months ago. That is a strategic catastrophe for any long-term American position in this region. Now let us get into what actually happened at Trump's press appearances yesterday, because this is where it gets genuinely incoherent. Two separate press events, one in a White House conference room, one in the Oval Office, both on camera, both on the record, and at both events, Trump said two completely incompatible things about the same subject. On Iran striking neighboring countries, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Trump said, "Nobody expected that. We were shocked. The greatest experts anywhere in the world did not predict that Iran would go after those states. Nobody. Not one person. Zero." Right. Except Iran announced publicly, explicitly, in advance, that retaliating against U.S.-aligned regional neighbors was exactly what they were going to do. The Arab nations in the region warned Washington directly this was coming. Independent analysts published this scenario before the war started. The intelligence community had it in their assessments. The only party that apparently did not incorporate any of that information was the one sitting behind the Resolute desk. At those same appearances, same day, Trump declared, "We are the strongest military in the history of civilization. We need nobody, full stop." And then within minutes, "We strongly encourage all partner nations to get involved right now, with great enthusiasm, as fast as possible. Multiple countries want to help, but are afraid to be named publicly because they do not want to become targets." He then went after the UK specifically, said he personally called them 2 weeks ago, asked them to send ships, and they turned him down. His reasoning: "We have been protecting you for decades. We are over in Ukraine, which is thousands of miles away across an ocean. We did not have to do any of that, and you will not send one ship." Then he added that Biden was the one who handled Ukraine anyway, and Biden got completely taken to the cleaners. So the argument for why the UK should help just collapsed inside the same sentence that was making it. We need nobody. Countries want to help. Please get involved urgently. A specific ally refused. My own example undermines my point. At the same podium, on the same day. I mean, this is deranged. And that is exactly why the generals keep putting those exit options into his briefings every single morning. One of Iran's military commanders released a message addressed directly to the American president. The bottom line of that message: you cannot tweet your way out of this. On Fox News, Trump's most reliable media operation spent airtime explaining that European allies are essentially people who love you when you are covering the bar tab and cannot find their wallets the second it is someone else's turn to pay. That whole monologue aired at the exact moment the administration was publicly asking those same countries to send warships. If anyone in the building noticed the irony, it did not make it to air. So let us put the full picture together right now, because the picture at the start of week 3 of this war is what the generals are staring at every single morning when they prepare those briefings. 13 American service members killed, more than 200 wounded with roughly a dozen in critical condition. And those are the official figures from an administration with a credibility problem on casualty numbers. A dozen MQ, 9 Reaper drones destroyed, one of them by a Gulf partner. The USS Gerald Ford, 10 months deployed, with 600 crew members sleeping on floors after a fire destroyed the ship's sleeping quarters with no repair timeline in sight. The U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad struck by Iranian drones on camera, footage circulating globally. Every allied nation asked for warship support has said no. The UAE has closed its national airspace. Iran struck Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Kuwait in ways Trump said nobody on earth predicted, despite Iran having announced it publicly. Iran's foreign minister accusing Trump on the record of fabricating ceasefire contact to move oil prices. The Houthis not yet activated in the Red Sea, while every rerouted cargo ship sits directly in their path waiting. And every morning, in the briefing folders sitting on the president's desk, the generals and admirals put it in there again. The exit options, the off-ramp. The message they keep delivering is not complicated. This decision is arriving whether the administration makes it actively or has it forced on them from outside. Making it now, on terms that can still be controlled, is categorically better than waiting until there are no terms left to shape. That is what America's top military commanders are looking at every day. That is what they are trying to communicate. That is the reality of this war in week 3. And that is what Global Daily Wire will keep tracking for you as this conflict moves into its next phase. Stay with us.